Station 51, engine 27, engine 32, truck 105.
You're listening to The Fire Break with Steve Wolf. Hey, I'm Steve Wolf, and welcome to The Fire Break. Or should I say welcome back, because, most of you listen regularly, I hope. We're sponsored by Team Wildfire. Check us out on the web at teamwildfire.com. And with me today, joining us live from up in Canada, as George Bush used to call it, or what I refer to it as the country that can't keep its smoke to itself, we have Robert Atwood from Nova. Robert, welcome to The Fire Break. How are you today?
Yeah, great, Steve. Thanks so much for having me on.
You bet. So tell me about Nova. What is Nova in the simplest generic terms?
Yeah, Nova is a fire mapping platform. It's an emergency response drone drone mapping platform. Fundamentally, we started as initial attack firefighters about 10, 12 years ago. Back in our early 20s, we got really excited about drone technology. We were on a fire crew about to graduate university, and drones today, they're kind of ubiquitous. They're everywhere. We're all familiar with them. But 12 years ago, they were like these magic flying robots with cameras on them. And we got really excited about the potential of that.
They still are to me. I mean,
so every once in a while.
Did you ever start your drone and just not get a little thrill out of it, no matter how many times you've done it?
Oh yeah, it still happens. Now it varies at the beginning of a fire season compared to the end of a fire season, because at some point you're like, oh, I think I'm just vacuuming the sky right now, because you're just doing these big passes all night long. But
Sure.
So we started a drone company up here in Canada. We graduated university, left the fire service, and we're like, we want to start a company that specializes building, drone technology for wildfire agencies. And that's kind of a fancy way of saying that for two guys in our early 20s, we really just wanted to fly drones on fires and start that. And we kind of got our first big break in 2015. I think we were the first in Canada to fly drones on fire landscapes. And just getting out there, we realized there were some really incredible gaps in how to do this, because we were like infrared, sensor, drone. We're going to be able to map wildfires like nobody else. And actually it was super hard. And really a big focus for us was, we need to build a software platform that allows us to analyze this infrared data really quickly and get it out. And so we started working on that. And over the years with that software, our company grew across Canada. So we had this really powerful, but technically complex and really not a very nice looking software that we use to analyze infrared data. And it was really super powerful. But it was very manual. You needed a lot of training, and it really wasn't anything that we could sell. And then in 2021, because we were starting to really grow, and we were having big problems with QA and QC, because we're sending these drone teams out across Canada into the wilderness. They're flying drones in the middle of the night with no tech support. And they need to use ArcGIS and all, there was 5 different software platforms that they would have to use. They'd been dropped off in a swamp. And we're like, man, we really need to find a way to automate this and make it simpler, but we didn't have a good solution for it. And then in 2021, we kind of had this epiphany of this is actually how I think we can build this pipeline to automate this process. And so we just started working on it. And we're like, I bet people will buy this. And so we started selling it, and that's what's become Nova. So really it started out, we just wanted to find hotspots more effectively, and we also wanted a simpler GIS platform. So we wanted a way to make a map where you don't need where you don't need to go to school, you don't need a diploma. You should,
Right.
We have this internal mantra, or whatever you want to call it, that maps should be as easy to make as a PowerPoint presentation. And it really felt that out there, the tools available were significantly more difficult for non-technical users. And what we saw was that as agencies and fire departments and folks all over were starting to adopt drones, the people that were flying them and operating them weren't necessarily technical users.
Sure.
There weren't people that knew how to make maps or use ArcGIS or anything like that. And instead, what we were looking at were people that, hey, I can fly a drone and I need a tool that can help me kind of cross that boundary. And so we really wanted to focus on how do we make maps as super simple to make as possible while still being incredibly powerful. And then on the flip side of that, how do we, make maps, with data and orthomosaics and photogrammetry, all just really distilled and into this really simple thing. So, this is kind of just me rambling, but that's kind of the broad overview of now where we're at. And it's been a really incredible journey. So,
yeah. And so, several mapping apps have made it over to the app platform where supposedly they're more accessible, but sometimes they bring all of the complexity of a mainframe system onto an app platform. And so it's no easier to use. It's just on your phone now.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've really focused on meeting firefighters where they're at. Instead of like building like a mobile app or anything like that, our focus has been like, how do you just, get firefighters to leverage the tools that they already have? And, so that's like predominantly PDF Avenza. Firefighters love PDF Avenza. Are you familiar with it, Steve?
No, I'm not.
Okay. So just quickly, it's just it's this app that firefighters have. It allows them to bring in what's called a georeferenced PDF. And a georeferenced PDF is basically just a basic PDF map. I saw you make one on the platform yesterday. But that PDF map has a little bit of magic associated with it, where each pixel on the map has a coordinate associated with it. So when you open it in a platform like PDF Avenza, you can then track yourself moving across the landscape as you go. It's incredibly powerful for offline work. It's really seamless. And so you can get these really great PDF maps. And this is predominantly what firefighters leverage when they're going out to the field. So being able to be like, okay, like whether we're working in wildfire or just in emergency response or wherever, we're getting these maps out, and it's going onto these systems and platforms that firefighters and emergency responders are already familiar with. So that's been a big part of like, how do we get people to use it? The folks that are using it now are drone pilots and fire operations that have drone programs, but then it's kind of just really funneling into the existing kind of framework that they already have for consuming this information.
Okay. So when I was doing, SAR work, we were using, let's see, CalTopo.
Yeah, CalTopo is great too.
Right. We were using, a lot of people are using TAC.
Yeah.
Or ATAC.
Yeah, we actually have our first ATAC integration coming too.
You do. And so how does this compare as a user experience? Well, because I found trying to figure out which of the 30,000 icons I was supposed to find and how to turn off all the layers and this and that, when you're trying to find somebody, not, your main thing is find the person or do the rescue, not play with the app. So
totally. Yeah.
And it seemed like you'd need one person to run the app and one person to actually look for victims.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly the sense. So what kind of sets us apart, what makes it like Nova really effective is, especially for fire professionals, and we can talk about like search and rescue or more broad emergency response later if we want, but what sets Nova apart is in 2021, one of the ways that we were like, oh, this is how we automate this process for mapping fires, is we realized that we'd been mapping fires in exactly the same way for the last 7 years. And we actually had this incredible machine learning data set. So we had a machine learning data set of hundreds of thousands of fires, all captured exactly the same. And we were like, let's take that, let's annotate that data, let's train a model. And so now we have this machine learning model that's trained on 7 million hotspots, spanning over the last 12 years. It's incredibly powerful. And what it does is it allows the user to fly, and it's so niche. And so, you're kind of talking about this, but for us, it's like the world that we inhabit. So it's what we know and it's what we care so much about. So what you do is the drone operator, let's say, you're operating on a fire, you take your drone off, you fly over the fire, and you're just kind of taking photos as you're flying, and specifically infrared photos. And you upload those infrared photos. They enter our machine learning model, and it spits out the exact location of every single hotspot on the fire, Steve. So it's like taking, we spend all these resources, and there's all this destruction that happens with wildfires, and all this money that goes into it. And like at a very basic level, like the mapping products that firefighters are getting aren't telling them where the hot stuff is on the fire. You know, when I was a firefighter, like the maps, and still predominantly today, are really just this red line that kind of goes around the edge of a fire. And that's
Right.
all you got. That's like what firefighters have for intelligence. And so it, like the biggest, like I I think it's a step change to go from this red line around the boundary of a fire to going to, I have precise hotspot location for every single hotspot on the landscape, and I did it in like 10 minutes. And
Okay.
it turns fires from these like, multi-week events into a couple days, and we're seeing that play out, and it's so incredibly powerful. And as time has gone on, and as as more and more people are using these maps and finding these hotspots, it's really kind of changing the game, and it's so exciting to be a part of that.
I bet it is, right? You got founder fever,
Yeah, I mean,
which is so fun, right?
I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid here, but
I see. I see. Yeah. So in order for you to plot hotspots, you have to physically get near the fire because someone's got to go over there and get within drone range of the fire, right? So this isn't so if you're sitting in Vancouver and there's a startup in, the boreal forest, like this isn't going to be the first tool. It's going to be something more like Aurora Tech. So
yeah,
can you pull down data from satellite systems and lay that onto your maps initially until you're able to get in and get more precise drone-based data?
yeah. So satellite data is like kind of on that, like is one of the really exciting roadmap items that we have coming up. But our focus has really been um, not so much that broader, higher level intelligence. There's a lot of aggregation tools that do that. There's a lot of viewers. There's a lot of dashboards that kind of pull that together effectively. And really, we focus not so much on like selling necessarily to that higher level decision maker. Like
Mhm.
we're not so concerned about what's happening in command. We're really super hyper concerned about making a super valuable product for the firefighters. Because I think traditionally what you have is this top-down approach with new technology in wildfire agencies where you go, and it makes sense from like a sales perspective. You go to the people that like control the purse strings or that are managing the budget, and then you get them excited, and then that filters down. Our focus has really been, as much as possible, to come from the firefighter out. Let's find a tool that
Yeah.
like actually the firefighters are super excited about this. And by extension, the drone pilots. Let's get the drone pilots excited about this. Because it's like this two-legged stool with so many drone programs that are starting up across North America right now. It's like people will get excited. They'll go buy. They see this inherent value. They go buy a drone. They go get the training, and then they're like, "Oh, what do we do next? What value am I actually delivering for my end user?" And so that's really where we come in, and we kind of add that third leg to that stool, where we say, "Oh, okay, like you've got the tech, you've got the training. Now let's get that product ready." And so really like focusing on making sure that they're successful with the firefighters, because when you're a drone pilot and you're scanning fires and making maps of fires, you're really only as good as your last scan, right? Because if your
Right.
hotspots are super inaccurate or firefighters are like, can't find what you're looking for, they're all very vocal about it. So it's really important that like they have a really crazy good user experience every time they get on the app. And so, so our focus has been less like, let's get this broad idea of what the fire looks like or fire growth or modeling or anything. And it's at a very like micro level. Where is every single individual hotspot in the landscape? And that is the product. That is the value that like firefighters really see.
And what's the granularity of that? How small a hotspot can you see and from what distance?
Yeah. So, we advocate when we have like new pilots coming on, flies high and fast as possible. So, depending if you have a COA or you have like some airspace restrictions, that's often around 1,600 feet. And so we recommend you fly at 1,600 feet, fly as fast as you can, fly as hard as you can. But at those altitudes, you're finding hotspots like the size of your fist on the ground, and sometimes buried. And often people are flying at 400 feet because there's all sorts of drone
Sure.
restrictions and regulations. And then
Yeah.
you're finding just even you're finding a buried root, like a foot underground. And so it's really this really phenomenal. I was just down. I was in California. I was just working with some drone pilots with Cal Fire that use the platform, and they were saying, "Hey, we found this like hotspot, and we had these firefighters. We were like trying to lead them into it, and they couldn't find it. They were like, "There's no hotspot here." They're like, "No, there's a hotspot here." So the drone pilot actually flew the drone back,
Oh,
attached a glow stick,
yeah.
and flew it over to the hotspot and dropped it exactly where Nova had said it was.
Wow.
It was like, "Hey, the hotspot is right here." And the firefighter's like, "I've been here. There's no hotspot." And he jumps onto the glow stick and sinks directly into an ash pit. And it was this like crazy thing. But yeah, it's fine. It's like really granular. So I think I can talk about this. I was just down there, but at Los Angeles Fire Department has just enacted a policy where every single one of their brush fires is now, before they call it out, is scanned with Nova. So so from like a fire mapping, from a confidence level, we're really helping folks like find those small hotspots, those things that can reignite and erase all of the work that's gone into it at the outset.
Amazing. Tell me about the hardware side. What's the minimum requirement on the IR drone, and what do those cost?
Yeah, to be honest, like from a platform standpoint, we've really tried to be platform and sensor agnostic. So if you have a drone with an infrared camera, we're going to like break our backs to make sure that works inside of the application. And so that's, when we first started, we're like, it's not going to be a big deal. It's going to be, it's like that saying, it's like, we do things not because they are easy, but because we thought they would be easy.
Right.
So we're like, we're going to support everything, and so now we support everything. But so really, like, you've got a lot of firefighters. They've got like a 2,000-3,000, I think as low as $1,200 drone with an infrared sensor on it. In their backpack, pop it up, scan, fly it over their fire, scan it, find all the hotspots, get that product out. But you're looking at this huge range of, that's probably the low end. And then you see, obviously,
your enterprise stuff, $20,000, $50,000. So what kind of an IR drone can you get for $1,200?
Okay. I mean, maybe 1,200 is a bit low, but I'm pretty sure that's like the Mavic 2. It's a bit of an older drone now, but the Mavic 2 Enterprise has an infrared sensor on it. We have a bunch of folks that use that one. I think the most and it's always growing. There's like blue list drones, so you have like your Autels and your Skydios, and you have your DJI drones, and so it's kind of like it runs the gamut, and we're always just like trying to make sure we support whatever they have. So
okay, and so the drone comes back.
Mm-hmm.
They pull the card. I'm just looking at the work sequence. Do they pull the card, or they work from the version that was? Because there's usually a clone on the controller.
Yeah.
That also records your files or puts them on your phone.
Totally. Yeah.
So you either get the drone back with the card, or you pull the copy from the flight controller.
Yeah.
And then you upload it to where, like, you have a portal or an account, or how does that work? Walk me through the mechanics of it.
Totally. So we're out there, we're flying our fire. You'll set your, like, you can either fly manually and just like click the button, enthusiastically press the button, or you can you can just do an automated flight. Drone comes back, you land, you take the SD card out, you put it in your computer, and you upload it to Nova. And so in Nova, you just go, on the mapping UI, there's like a create button. You go create. You go, in this case, hotspots. Go click hotspots, upload the photos, and you just press go. And it takes about 10-15 minutes, and it finds all your hotspots in that data set, places them on the landscape, and then in one click, like you did yesterday, you can make a PDF map out of that, which is that entire, like, as you're going to the end user, that's the entire kind of product pipeline. We're really doing our best to simplify it as much as possible, so that, like, because, like, you're doing these big drones. I was down on the Palisades fire, working with LAFD and LA County and Cal Fire, and kind of bouncing around there. And, they're out doing drone missions. So they're out flying their drones, and then they're landing. They're taking the SD card out, just like we talked about, putting it in the computer, uploading it, creating that hotspot map, and then immediately handing that map off to the firefighters. And those firefighters are taking that map and going out and like putting out all those hotspots that were just produced from that map. And so it's this really like cool, seamless workflow and kind of data handoff. So it's really neat.
And can you ingest LiDAR data as well and lay it over your map?
We're not in the LiDAR phase yet.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we get there. I think like the focus, because there's a lot of really amazing software products out there that are great for data visualization or creating these like, but really like there's a gap that we're focused on, which is not maybe the data processing, but what's that data product, and what is the data product for firefighters or search and rescue teams or emergency responders across the board, or even foresters and in the resource space. Like what is that in the field tool that they're really all looking for? And I think with fire, for the time being anyways, we're in a really great spot with it.
Yeah. Well, we make a presumption though that if we have a map, we can get someplace. And in reality, the map doesn't tell you whether there's fallen trees or a sinkhole on the road or something like that. And that's where the LiDAR overlay could tell you whether, the path you think you're going to go down is navigable.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think the things that we're starting to see with LiDAR are so incredible, and kind of where, when we've seen these leaps and bounds with drone technology over the last 12 years, and really looking at what's going to happen over the next 10 years in terms of what's going to happen with LiDAR sensors. They're getting lighter, they're getting smaller, they're becoming more powerful. And I think there's going to be this, like, in 10 years, we're going to look back on kind of, that LiDAR trajectory and be like, holy smokes, this is cool. Like, I can't believe what we used to do. And so I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Right. And when you think about, the computational power and how quickly that increases, and laser tech, right? That a LiDAR module that's $70,000 now, clocking 1.2 million spots per second, that could be like a $40 item, and it's mounted on your watch. And
I think it's going to happen. I think there's a really exciting big future there. So we'll see what
and so, the reason I ask about the integration is because as it stands right now, you still have to go to a different tool for each task you're trying to complete, right? You might be on Perimeter for finding where your fire trucks are, and you're on a LiDAR app for mapping the spots, and you're on Nova for looking at the hot spots. So you're still in the juggling apps business. Well, which is something I think that on the ground, the firefighters would like to get away from.
Yeah, that's been a big part of our journey. How do we consolidate this? How do we bring all of these tools into one workspace? How do we keep them simple? But there's obviously advanced users that want different feature sets, and they want to be able to do, more in-depth things. And I think that's like a big part of firefighting right now is really like from a software and technology standpoint is it's really defined by just the fractured nature of the industry. And I think this is kind of across emergency response writ large, is you're in this situation where, man, and you're starting to see some really great contenders out there, like Sartopo, CalTopo, that's like really been adopted and kind of taken on by the search community, which is amazing. But there's all these different kind of things, and it's like there's as like a startup and as a company that's kind of building, when you try to do too much, like if you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing. And it's how do you take a really sequenced approach, and it's kind of like that roadmap unfurls as you go along. Okay. So as you're like, okay, this is like broadly directionally where the company is going. We believe in a consolidated platform where data processing is really simple and accessible, and it's really focused on not the drone pilot necessarily, but who's the drone pilot's end user. But on the flip side of that, it's like, and it's been really like a really great learning experience for us. So much of, the development roadmap today is also driven by user feedback and interaction. Whereas at the outset, so you're like, we want to build all these it's like bells and whistles, right? I love bells and whistles. I would be covered in bells and whistles if I could be, but you're also trying to figure out what's the functional approach here that we need to take to make sure that that end user is getting the maximum amount of value that they can. So there's kind of two sides of it. So,
and what about the nav side of this? Once I see where the hotspot is on this map, I want to go there. So do I have to take that coordinate and now plug it into, Google Maps or Apple Maps to get there? Or
Yeah, so with that PDF map we're creating, and this is kind of where Avenza, because firefighters are already using Avenza, because like kind of the output from the GIS, side of the house is like this georeference PDF map. Firefighters are already used to opening it in Avenza. They're already used to seeing these beautiful PDF maps, walking around. It's like, no matter how much effort has been put in by agencies to like develop, common operating pictures and like have their own mapping tools, firefighters just love PDF Avenza. It's like the firefighter tool. And which I'm very thankful for, because it's something that we can integrate with.
Right.
And so those maps, the way that they get to those hotspots is they create that PDF map, and then that is shared out with the firefighters in Avenza, and it's already an existing framework that we're just kind of able to tap into. So yeah, it's really nice. I mean, I think long term, what I'd really like is for firefighters to be able to kind of open up a photo of that hotspot so they can get to that hotspot faster, because sometimes, depending on map scale and all these other things, it can be hard to actually find the hotspot sometimes, even when you have a precise location. So finding ways to like really optimize how do we get that firefighter to that hotspot more effectively is a big topic of conversation in here.
Yeah, because then they could do it visually, because right now they get the coordinates. Now they got to put the coordinates in their GPS
Totally.
and walk to it. Right. So we're trying to limit the number of apps and pieces of hardware that they need to get what they're trying to do.
Yeah. What's the fewest number? And I think, you're always like a little bit drawn towards this idea of having your own mobile app. But I think from like a company standpoint and like what's best for the business and ultimately what's best for the firefighter is, man, firefighters love PDF Avenza. Let's use PDF Avenza. This is almost like just like a long advertisement for PDF Avenza. But I actually love the product. It's so good. But yeah, it's really interesting. Just in terms of how do you get? And I mean, what we're doing right now fundamentally is you're taking this like, you're kind of removing the fog of war from the wildland fire. Right? You're like saying, okay, before you just had this white map with a red line that denoted the edge of the fire, and now we're telling you where every single hotspot is. And what that does is it really just takes it and it turns that fire into this like nebulous, unknown thing into like basically, like a treasure map or
right. Here's your roadmap.
Yeah, it's like here's all your hotspots, and you go, you spend all day, you cross them off a list. It feels really good, and you're really like affecting incredible change at a micro level. And yeah, okay, it's like, it's not satellites or some big fancy new technology. It's really just bread and butter firefighting. But that's like what we care about, is that bread and butter firefighting. And I think that that's almost where the biggest gains in efficiency come from, is like actually just like taking something we already do, which is cold trailing and hotspot, like cold trailing and mop up, and being like, oh, actually we can increase this by an order of magnitude in terms of how effective we are at it. And that's what gets me excited.
Absolutely. So you started this and you brought it to where it is, and then you look around and you see, well, there's other people, other players in, allied aspects of this. And then at some point it occurs to you, maybe we should partner with this one for that and partner with that one. Who are you looking at, as strategic partners?
Yeah, for us, we're actually just going through, we're calling this the year of the integration. Really looking at like as many different tools that agencies use. So whether that's
on the Chinese calendar, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 2025. What we're really looking at is who can we. So a big part of it right now, we just have. We have some like integrations with existing things like Intera's. They've been really cool and proactive. We work with we have a big AGOL or ARC integration package. So actually, we have a release coming out today. By the time we're done this episode, it might be out. But a self-service AGOL integration, so you can just go into the app and kind of connect your AGOL environment. We also have our first ATAC integration, like a self-service ATAC integration, coming out by the end of the month, and then from there, I think it's tablet command, and really just like looking at where where firefighters are already doing their work, and how do we get in there, and how do we make drones like just a critical, crucial part of the day-to-day workflow.
Fascinating work you're doing there, and thanks so much for taking a little time to share that with me and the listeners here on the Fire Break.
Steve, thanks so much for having me on. It's a huge honor, and really love what you do.
Likewise, and I'm excited. And I really did enjoy playing around on the platform yesterday. It was
It's awesome.
super fun. So I'll jump in there and try to master that a little better. We've been chatting with Robert Atwood from Nova. Fascinating technology for finding hotspots in a practical way, so you can go knock them down instead of just looking at like a broadly, here's the fire zone. So this is really actionable information, and glad you're doing the work. And I'm sure firefighters who are using it appreciate it. You've been listening to or watching The Fire Break. I'm Steve Wolf. We're sponsored by Team Wildfire. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next one.